Hi grade 12s. Under the Hamlet section on Moodle, please download the worksheet that's called Lit Essay Practice, because that's what we're going through today. The first video was talking about literature essays, but this video is going to be practicing one with you. So, I've taken the topic, if you look in the folder of past papers, paper 2, from paper 2A. The memo is there as well. So after you've practiced the essay, then you can see if your ideas aligned with the memo. But remember, when we mark literature essays at matric marking, we don't only look at the things that are on the memo. That's a guide. So don't think that if it's not on the memo, it's not correct. Right, so at the bottom of your worksheet, the practice essay is: Hamlet is responsible for his own tragic fate. In an essay of 400 to 450 words, assess the validity of this statement. What that means is this valid? Is it true? Can we say that he is responsible? Remember, your essay length, 400 to 450 words, is about 2 to 2.5 pages long. So bear that in mind. Right, so the first thing we always do is we highlight the keywords of the essay. So here, the keywords are responsible, tragic fate, and Hamlet, and validity. So we're going to take the keywords and we're going to put them on some sort of planning. I use a mind map. You can use any sort of bullet points, headings, a table if you like as well. So in the middle, I put responsible, tragic flake. I keep saying flake. Maybe I want a flake. And I put a question mark there. And then I think about, is he or isn't he? And some of my ideas I came up with are his conscience or his morality, no control over events, emotional state, impulses, tragic flaw, which is his intelligence, and procrastination. Once you do that, you should be able to fill in as much information under those headings as you can. And the ones that you can't fill in a lot, those are not going to be very strong points, now are they? Right, so at the end of the day, what I chose was his tragic flaw of intelligence, and I put procrastination under that because that's what it leads to. I also put his conscience and his morality under tragic flaw. Then I took no control over events, and I took emotional state, which led to his impulses. So although it looked like I had many different things to talk about, I actually combined them into each other. Now I've got 3 arguments. I can make my introduction. Alright, so remember there's 4 parts to an introduction. In this case, state your angle is not always relevant. It is in this case. And I've decided from my arguments, as you can see, is he's both responsible and not responsible. And those kind of mixed responses are often easier to answer. And because Shakespeare's characters are so complex, it's difficult to put them under a box. So when you've got these sort of mixed responses, true or false, valid or not valid, often a mixed response shows a better understanding. Not always, but I find that when I look at the topics. So first, the introduction. I'll just show you, although I do write in shorthand. Could this be any more difficult? There we go. So, in the play Hamlet, Hamlet is not completely responsible for his tragic fate. In that simple sentence, I've stated the argument, I've named the play and underlined it, and I've stated my angle. I'm saying it's not valid. It's true and it's false. That's what I'm basically saying there. The second part is I need to mention my arguments. And the arguments are quite complex. So I said, Hamlet's tragic flaw of intelligence leads to his procrastination and his intense morality. However, he has no control over the events which occur or his emotional state. And it's a combination of these which leads to his tragic fate. Easy peasy. I've done all the parts of an introduction. Now let's go on to the body. You need to have at least 3 arguments. I always say that 3 is a magic number. And you can use either the SIR method or the peel method. So I'm just going to do one with you. And I'm going to be talking about the tragic flaw, right? Which does make him responsible in my mixed ones. So here is the first part, which is the state in the SIR or the point in peel. Hamlet's tragic flaw, his intelligence, leads to his moral dilemmas and procrastination. So I've made the point. This leads to his tragic fate. This leads to his death. You can say something like that as well, just so we make sure that we use the keywords and make sure our arguments are on point. I did a little bit of explanation here, which is not in the SIR method, but it's the first E on the peel method. In this way, he is responsible for his tragic fate. There we go. Now I need to do the most important parts, and the danger here is that you start telling the story. So don't do that. It's the illustrate in the SIR or the elaborate in the peel. We need to look at characters, themes, events, and things like that. So my first one was his plan of acting mad. The theme of madness comes up here. So instead of just getting on with business, he acts mad, and this hurts a lot of people along the way. Right, and if we add all these things together that his madness caused, they do lead to his death in the end. The other thing is he's not believing the ghost. So his intelligence, his tragic flaw, leads him not to believe the ghost. If he just believed the ghost in the first place, the supernatural element, he would have gone straight and killed Claudius and the case would have been closed and no one else would have got hurt. The next thing is because of his plan of acting crazy, he ends up hurting Ophelia and also ends up killing Polonius. This is due to his intelligence and his moral dilemmas caused by his intelligence and his procrastination in not killing Claudius when he had the chance. And this leads to Laertes' rage, which is one of the reasons why he dies, his tragic fate again. All right, so I've given many examples here for the illustrate or the elaborate. And you can go and you can find, especially when you're doing the task at home, some quotes to back up those elaborations because that makes it all the better. Make sure they're short and don't rephrase them. They have to be perfect. And then the last part is the R, which is relate in SIR, or the L in peel, which is link. Right, this step is often unnecessary, but you can use it to check yourself. So the last thing you say is this proves that Hamlet's tragic flaw of intelligence leads to his tragic fate. You could see it's not really necessary, but you can ask yourself that question at the end and see if you were right. Please remember to use the correct style here. So, we've only used third person pronouns, he, she, it, and they. As soon as you say I, you're saying in my opinion, which causes your argument to be useless. If you're saying you're asking the audience questions, which is also useless. You are proving things to the reader. The next thing you have to do is make sure that you're using present tense, because this is like a commentary of things that are happening in the play as they are happening. Make sure you use formal register so there are absolutely no contractions. And if you find yourself using the word if, you are probably doing something wrong, because if this didn't happen, when you use hypothetical situations like that, your argument has no basis in reality. So that if you see the word if in it, just cross it out. Cross that whole point out, because you're not making a point. Hypothetical points do not make good arguments at all. Then in the conclusion, we just need to summarize our arguments, make sure we remember what the topic is, and make sure we know what our angle is. So for example, Hamlet cannot be held fully responsible for his own tragic fate. There I've reworded the topic and I've stated my angle. And then I summarize my points. Events beyond his control lead to his need for revenge, and the accidental murder of Polonius. The corruption affect his morals and lead to an unstable emotional state. We cannot hold him responsible for this. However, his tragic flaw of intelligence leads to his procrastination and mistakes that he made, so he is responsible in that regard. And that's it. Okay, guys, remember that task. You can, if the lockdown is even longer, then I suggest you type them and email them or send me photos. All right. Ciao, guys.